Hey there, Tracy here, Imagine Artist in Residence. Today's video, I am going to show you how to make this creepy, spooky Halloween card, particularly how to create this kind of a background. So let's go ahead and jump into the video and find out. So I'm going to start by just showing you some of the supplies I'll be using today. Some stamps from my stash, some dies from my stash, I think Whimsy stamps and Tim Holtz. And then a brush. I'm going to be using my Versamark ink. I'm going to be using VersaFine Clair and Acorn, VersaFine Clair and Fallen Leaves. I'm going to use this Irresistible in the bronze. Love this one, the Pico embellishment. I'm going to be using a blending brush, some Wow embossing powder. This is Halo by Catherine Buller. Then I'm going to be using Memento in Espresso Truffle, Desert Sand, Potter's Clay, Peanut Brittle, and London Fog. And then papers, I have a piece that I can stamp off on, so just a scrap. I have a brown card base. I have a piece of mixed media card and a piece of black card. So I'm going to start by creating the background, which is the main focus of this tutorial. What I'm doing here is I am just adding the desert sand with just a stencil brush, and I'm not looking for anything nice and neat. And next I'm just adding some water on it and then kind of lifting, and what I'm trying to get here is texture. Then I'm going to come in with the peanut brittle, and again, just willy-nilly, here and there, nothing particular. I'm not worried about marks. Then I'm going to add some of the potter's clay, and then I'm going to add more water. And what that water is going to do is give us some depth of color. So I'm going to dry that layer, and I like to add water with my fan brush versus squirting it out of the bottle. I have less chance of getting giant chunks, which I don't want. I want little chunks. So I'm going to dab that off and add a little bit more water. Dry it again. You want to dry in between each layer, just like any other inks. So next I'm going to go ahead and add some of this London Fog, and how I'm going to do that is on my fan brush. I'm just going to dabble it on. So I just added that down to a mat and then a little bit of water. And now I'm getting more and more kind of grunge and spooky going on in my background. I'm going to use my decal trimmer, and I'm going to trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4. I just feel like the decal trimmer gives it a little bit more of a spooky edge. Then I'm going to come in with the Espresso Truffle here and start to deepen the edges. So you can see that I'm just kind of going all the way around, higher in the corners, and then as my brush gets lighter in ink, I bring it up into the card. Now I'm going to take the potter's clay, and I'm going to stamp out some of these little speckles. Is it supposed to look like blood? I don't think so, but it kind of does, doesn't it? And so I'm just stamping, and then sometimes stamping off and sometimes not, just to kind of, again, get that difference in depth of color. And then I'll come in with the London Fog and add some more darkness. So now we're getting darker and deeper. So next I'm going to be doing some stamping. I'll grab my VersaFine Clair in the Acorn. I'm going to stamp off first and then stamp onto my card background. And just grabbing some random different types of signs and words, stamping off and then stamping onto the background. And with the big stamp, I'm not putting it on a platform. I'm just kind of dipping it in the Acorn ink and then smacking it down. So the last thing I want to do is I want to come in with the darkest color, because you do want darkness here. I do anyway. And with the fallen leaves, I'm again coming around the edges. And then I'm going to grab a little bit more and just run it through in a couple of random spots on my stencil, and there's my background. Super easy. Now, as far as this web goes, I want it to be sparkly, and let's go ahead and clean this up before I have a terrible accident. And I want to divide these because I don't want my spider sparkly. I just want my web sparkly. So I'm going to grab a plain piece of paper here, and I'm going to grab my Versamark and just basically run it along the whole piece of paper that I'm going to cut my web out of, and then pour on my embossing powder. Let's go ahead and clean that up before I have a second terrible accident, which I didn't have any accidents this time. I'm going to put this on my little wire rack, and I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss it, and this is always magical to watch. And this halo has color to it, but it's a holographic color, so that's what I was looking for. So now I've got a little holographic piece of paper I can cut my web out of, and I'll do all my cutting off camera, and then we'll put it together. So my brown cardstock is a little bit plain. So what I want to do here is, first of all, I want to trim off the edges and make sure it's nice and neat. Sometimes cardstock just isn't straight, even, no matter how hard you try. So I cut that down so it's all nice and even. Now I'm going to come in again with my fallen leaves, and I'm going to come around the edges and just deepen up that brown. So if you don't have a cardstock to match, get something close, and then use your ink to create your color that you need. Definitely want to wipe that up, because that's a lot of ink on there. Typically I would have my piece of paper behind it, but sometimes I'm just too lazy to reach 3 inches to grab it. So I'm going to glue this down to that dark cardstock, and I'm just going to glue it directly down. I'm not going to be popping anything up on this card, because this would be something I would send in the mail to one of my kids or one of my grandkids or something. So we'll get that glued down. We've got our beautiful grungy background, and I'm just going to take a paper towel, make sure those edges are down, and wipe off any excess glue. And now I'm going to attach my web, and I'm just sort of auditioning where I kind of want things here. And afterthought, I ended up putting a little bit of glossy accents on my spider, but I didn't do it on camera. So I just wanted to, when you see the pictures, that you notice that I know that I did that, and I just didn't do it. I was done with the video, and I'm like, you know what? I think I want some glossy accents on there. So I laid some glue on my hand, because this is such a delicate die, and then just tap the die into my hand there to get glue on all those delicate little edges. And then I'm just doing very thin glue on the word here. And that's just out of some sparkly cardstock that's in my stash. And any excess on there I tap off over to the side. And I'm gonna do my fry. It's down, and now all I need to do is get my spider down, decide where I want her. And I think right about there. So I'm going to grab just a little tiny piece of foam here, and this is not super high profile, and just pop the body up. And then I'll add some glue to the little feet, legs, whatever those are on a spider, and just tap off any excess there. And then I'm going to lay that down onto the card where I want it. I think I want it a little bit over the word there. And I'm just going to kind of put something flat on there until those feet dry. And it won't take too long. The glue I'm using is just my bookbinding glue, and that's the glue I use. And once I'm sure everything's good and stuck down, I'm ready to trim off the excess part of my web here. Get those out of the way. And I'm just going to add my picot embellishment now. And I do like to, my scrap piece of paper, I do like to start it on a piece of scrap. And this will make really nice teeny tiny dots. And listen, I'm not trying to make super round dots here. I'm trying to make them organic, just like the background. And I'm just adding them here and there. And then once this dries, it lightens up a little. It looks black right now, but it is a very dark bronze. It's beautiful. It's probably one of my favorites. So you can see I'm just putting little itty bitty dots here and there. And there's the finished card. So I have everything listed in the description box below, and don't forget to leave us a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, think about subscribing and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time one of us uploads a new video. Take care. Bye-bye.